The pads came on, the fans came out. Houston Texans Talk is what this show is all about. It was a 50-50 day for both sides of the ball, and the Houston Texans offense doing some intentional red zone work, something that they failed in 2024, intentionally putting in work to be better in 2025.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode is for Texan fans all around. And thank you for stopping by and spending time with me, your credentialed media member and Texans football analyst, John Hickman. Today's show is all about day 5 of training camp. We're going to look at life without Joe Mixon. Is it Woody Marks and Jawhar Jordan's time? The intentional red zone work, exactly what the doctor ordered. And the pass came on for the Houston Texans. It was a 50-50 day. I thought the Houston Texans defense had some great things. The Houston Texans offense did some great things. I want to shout out all of my everydayers. Thank you for making the Locked On Texans your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. And I'm excited to go ahead and get started with today's show before we dive into the pads on conversation. No Jalen Petrie to kick off padded practice. And once again, no Christian Harris. Listen, I don't know when we're going to get Harris County back, but right now it seems like Harris County is having some issues, and that's just not the city of Houston. That's also with Christian Harris. How long until we say, hey, man, it may be time to move on, or, does Harris need to play in a preseason game before week 1? I think so. You guys let me know what you think and feel in the comments. But D'Amico Ryans had this to say about the Houston Texans' first day in pads.
With it being the first day of pads, what stood out first and foremost, guys did a really great job of just staying up off the ground. I want guys to still be able to protect each other. We're still teammates. Understand we want to play physical football, but we got to protect each other. And I thought our guys came out, did a really good job of that. And you can see our running backs really running the football, how it will look, playing physical behind their pass. I thought those guys, Chubb did a really good job today with a couple runs, also Jawhar. So, and our defense as well, they stepped up, played physical, nice. Couple nice thuds, nice tackles in there, so I'm excited. First day of pads, everybody was safe. That's so I'm happy to get out clean today.
Everybody was safe for the Houston Texans, got out clean, no injuries. That's always a good thing. You want to see your teammates and you, as the fans, you want to see your team go on the field, perform well, practice hard, be able to come off the field and be available for the next day. My takeaways from the day, first day of padded practice, Jaylen Noel, he had himself a day. Several catches on the day, including a tutty over Miles Bryant. That was, over where the fans had an opportunity. If you didn't get a chance to really find out who Jaylen Noel was coming out of Iowa State, the fans were out there on Monday. They got an opportunity to see him a little bit more up close and personal. And now you understand why the Houston Texans like them so much. The tight end unit continues to look good. Cade Stover, man, who many in the organization, especially Nick Caserio, felt as though he was the most improved player on the roster. And I said it on the show that I dropped on Sunday, but, man, from a hip standpoint, like, he's just moving way more fluid when he's out there on the field. Not as stiff as he was. I thought coming in as a rookie last year and throughout the year had those growing pains. And so you like to see that. You like to hear that. But he looks like this team's number 2 tight end right now. Of course, it's too early to tell, but if available for 17 games altogether, that's Brevin Jordan, that's Cade Stover, that's Dalton Schultz, who's having a good camp so far. And the Houston Texans are utilizing him in the passing game, which that's never been a concern. It was more so inline blocking. And, I think they're going to move away from that as much as possible. But this unit should contribute more this season because they'll be involved more. And I mentioned this the other day. I want to mention it again. The Texans passing offense will operate a lot underneath. And from what I saw, from what I've seen, from what I am hearing, this is what we are going to get. Remember, guys, CJ Stroud threw 7 picks and they had a completion percentage of 35 on passes 20 or more yards down the field. And a lot of that was due to the fact that he didn't get the time that he needed in the pocket. A lot of that was due to the fact that, at times I thought there was some confusion because of the 2 receivers on the outside essentially kind of running the same routes. So that's going to be a little bit eliminated. I think, of course, we'll see some big shots taken down the field. Every offense will have that. With the Texans operating underneath, expect the tight ends to have a larger role and for the offense to intentionally get the ball out quickly. 0 snaps for Blake Fisher with the ones today. The writing is on the wall. He's just not ready to start this season. And the writing on the wall isn't the Texans should move on from him. Not at all. Not at all. Cole Popovich is just not getting into that room. And by the way, the Texans offensive line, I think they had a bad moment or maybe a bad drive. They got caught doing push-ups. So, like when receivers drop the ball and they do those push-ups, offensive line for the Houston Texans, they got busy with that on Monday. So that's a good thing. But I don't think Cam Robinson is ready. Not Cam Robinson. I don't think Blake Fisher is ready right now. Also, on the same note, Cam Robinson has some good snaps and some good reps. But overall, the starting D-line won the day. Will Anderson got the best of the rookie Ariante Aristide, who's been having a very solid camp for a would-be sack on C.J. Stroud. And just to give an update, the first team offensive line was Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, Jarrett Patterson at center, Titus Howard at right guard, rookie Ariante Aristide at right tackle. This may be the final 5, but we will see. And the star of the day might have just been Kalen Bullock. From the conversations I had with some of my friends in the business, from all of the videos I was able to see online, he looks ready to gain national love from the football talking heads. And if Hawk is getting that love, be ready for Locke, Kamari Lassiter, to get that love as well, because he also had a damn good day, first padded practice day on Monday as well. Shout out to Graham Mertz, who also had a good day. He was responsible for the Jaylen Noel TD. So when we get into that first preseason game, and especially the second half of preseason game 2, we need to keep our eye on the competition between Kendall Slovis and Graham Mertz, that QB3 battle that for a lot of you guys, it may not matter. However, this is a team that takes the competition seriously, and they take making sure that they have a player that if they make the 53-man roster, or if they're going to keep them around, that player is ready to go. Now, D'Amico Ryans also had this to say. I think this was a shot towards the media, but just addressing the injury concerns essentially for Joe Mixon.
Yeah, nothing's changed with Joe. Joe is still working, in the background. I know we get reports about Joe. Nothing's changed. He's still working. Whenever it's time for Joe to be back, he'll be back. Right? I know a lot of people want to report a lot of things about guys with injuries. My thing is this: are you really concerned about our guys, or are you really just trying to get something out there, right? And for me, I always put my players' health and safety first and foremost. So I care about the guys, so you guys don't hear me talking a lot about injuries, because that's their personal information. Guys are working through that, and it's nothing to report or get in an uproar about. Like, our guys are working, and it's always sensitive to me because I've been there, I've went through that. So it's not just to report something. Like, I want people here who truly care about our guys. I care about our guys and what they're doing throughout their process, and it'll continue to be that way.
And here on the Locked On Texans podcast, we got to talk about the injuries, got to mention them, especially when those injuries are to important players. But what we like to do here on this show, if you've been listening from day one, y'all know I like to talk the actual game. And for the Houston Texans, where they needed to be better coming into this year, coming off of last year, was not only getting to the red zone, but actually being an efficient red zone offense. They got some work in the red zone area today in 11-on-11 drills, and I thought that's what Houston Texans today. The side of the break, we are talking about being intentional with the red zone work. That's exactly what the doctor ordered up, and that's going to be a lot of issues for the Houston Texans in 2025. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices drop when you get closer to showtime. You can save up to 60% with their killer last-minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal? Gametime's zone deals pick the best seats in your section for you. Ever wonder what your view will actually look like before you buy? The app shows you a panoramic seat view, so there are no surprises. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, concert tickets, and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. We are continuing looking at Day 5, first padded practice for the Houston Texans. Now, let me just say this. The Texans having a good day with their red zone, end zone offense should really get you guys out your house seats. Honestly, man. I mean, for the Houston Texans, just to give you guys a little quick insight, and for real Texan fans, I know y'all saw it last year. You saw it on the screen. You saw it at the stadium, at the NRG Stadium. Maybe you traveled to a game, and you will see the Houston Texans get in the red zone, fight their asses off to get to the red zone after having to fight against bad offensive play call and bad offensive line play and just everything that could have been chaotic for that offense. They would finally get down to the red zone, and they were not able to punch it in. And we would see Ka'imi Fairbairn trotted out there to kick 50-yard field goals to put points on the board. The Texans' red zone touchdown rate in the NFL, 48.44%. That ranked them 28th in the NFL. You talk about an offense that just completely went blank when they got to around pay dirt. Like, they would get there and knocking on the door. The promotion is there. The job is almost done. And they fall flat on their face. That is an issue the Houston Texans face for not only the regular season, but when they got to the playoffs, especially against Kansas City. So to see them have an encouraging day with 11-on-11 drills against the defense, live padded practice, I thought for a lot of you guys, especially for myself, we should all just be jumping for joy, clapping that you have an offense that understands it's okay to mix it up. It's okay to go from bunch to wide to spread. It's okay to do things a little bit different and not stick to the script, because the ultimate goal should be going from 28th in terms of red zone touchdown rate in the NFL to maybe 20th, maybe 15th in the NFL. Once they get down there, they got to score. And per my guy, Jonathan Alexander of the Houston Chronicle, when the Texans were in their 11-on-11 drills on the goal line, the results were C.J. Stroud to Dalton Schultz for a touchdown, a sack, C.J. Stroud to Jaden Higgins for a touchdown. By the way, that was a beautiful route ran by Higgins, sold inside, bounced out for the TD. Davis Mills, who was a clear QB2, found John Mechie for a TD, incompletion for Davis Mills before back-to-back touchdowns. One to Xavier Hutchinson and another to John Mechie. Those two guys are fighting for that wide receiver's 5 spot. Mechie also started the day off struggling but bounced back, and that's a good thing to hear and see. This is why that red zone offense improvement is important, because when you have a defense that features on the back end of the defense, Kalen Bullock and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, those two guys I think combined for nearly 10 interceptions in 2024. Then you also have a cornerback in Derek Stingley, who, by the way, isn't getting tried a lot out there on the field. Like he's not – a lot of targets are not going his way right now. So just by those three names, you're looking at two safeties that when you get into a passing situation, you got two safeties behind that defense that can take the ball away. So now you're looking at good field position. Then you also have a cornerback that if teams are not going to consistently try him, and that was the case towards the last part of the season, then you have a cornerback that's shutting off between 25 to 40% of a field. Then you got Kamari Lassiter. And oh, by the way, the entire back half of that defense is going to benefit from Will Anderson Jr., who's been whooping tail. And I probably went past my A-word limit. So I'm going to use tail moving forward. But Danielle Hunter, who's whipping tail. You got the two Baptism brothers. They whooping tail up front. You got Tim Settle in the middle, who's going to do his job. Then you have Azeez Al-Shire, who can get his hands on the ball. Like they got some guys in their linebacker room that can make a play here or there. That will allow for the offense to find themselves in a position where they're having much better field position. So instead of having to start a drive after a punt on a 30-yard line, now you're able to start a drive potentially on 45, on a 50-yard line. You may get that already in your territory, on your side of the field. There was a lot of times in 2024 where the Houston Texans got perfect field position, sometimes on their side of the field, and was not able to do nothing with it. So to have a day where you get down there to that goal line, you get down there to operate in that red zone, and to see the Texans offense kind of come away, and J.J. Watt tweeted this the other day, so I don't know how many of you guys are counting stats for real, but come away with about 5 or so touchdowns to have a successful day and to have all of this happen under your new offensive coordinator in the midst of, I can call this maybe the dog days of training camp, where it's not a dog day in terms of like the physicality changes and what's coming with in terms of like the physicalness of it, and they're going to be physical, excuse me, but mentally this is the dog day. They're learning a new offense, and they are learning it on the fly without Joe Mixon, trying to figure out who's going to be your tackles. And right now, Cam Robinson, Ariante Erstry, they're holding it down, mixing in guys. You're getting some guys back who was injured last year or just was not ready last year. So you're having to figure out a lot of these things to figure out who's going to be our best players for what situations. And I think right now, if you can look at the wins and the losses for the day, yeah, the defense had a good day for the Houston Texans. Of course, like I said, it was 50-50. But for the offense to get down there in the red zone on goal line situations and to be able to score points, that's important. Now, granted, they're playing against each other. They know each other's tendencies. The first preseason game, joint practices, we'll find out more about the offensive DNA and who they really are. But we got to take small wins when we can get them, and small wins matter when you look at the amount of newness. I think this is a win for the day that we should all be proud of. On the other side, when we come back, life without Joe Mixon. You heard D'Amico Ryans talk about he don't want to talk about the injuries. It's personal, and I get it and I understand that. So for the Houston Texans, all we can go off of who's on the field. If there's no Mixon, Nick Chubb is getting the RB1 carries. But what about the other guys? We'll talk about that to close out today's show. Perfect time to talk about the Yahoo Fantasy Sports app. Football is back, which means fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat. Get your draft board ready and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all of the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy this year. Me and a few of my friends, and some of you guys, if you're ready to play some good fantasy football with the Locked On Texans Fantasy League, we're going to be playing on Yahoo Fantasy. And you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your 1 million league. Our league has been running through Yahoo for a while now. Easy setup, great mobile app, and the smack talk just hits a little bit different in those message boards. To celebrate 28 days of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins August 4th. Stay tuned and start or join Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. That's yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. To close out today's show, Jawhar Jordan was a fan favorite, training camp fan favorite in 2024. A lot of people liked him out of Louisville. Now you got Woody Marks, USC kid. He's becoming a fan favorite. I mentioned the other day I saw Woody Marks, and I believe it was a Texas route out of the backfield, catch a pass play and get upfield. And that's where the Houston Texans will probably value him the most, though he is a very good runner. You also heard D'Amico Ryans give Jawhar Jordan some love as I played that clip to open it up, talking about, the first pad of practice, things he was looking for. I mentioned Jordan and Nick Chubb having a solid day. So right now, Nick Chubb is getting the bulk of the carries. But for the Houston Texans, I want you guys to play around with this idea. You've heard me say this before, right? The Houston Texans had already found themselves in an interesting situation before the Joe Mixon news broke. We knew that Joe Mixon was walking in the boot earlier this offseason. We knew that the boot was off. We knew that he'd be ready for week one. We didn't necessarily know about his availability for training camp. Didn't expect for him to play preseason, a lot of snaps at least. Well, now we know he won't play any preseason games for the most part. But him not being on the field, Houston does. This is kind of a blessing in disguise for Houston. Why? Because in my opinion, going back to what you've heard me say for a while now, the Houston Texans should have found every way possible to dial back the amount of carries Joe Mixon was going to take. The amount of carries Joe Mixon is used to taking. I think the last 5 years, he's a top 5, top 6 running back in the NFL in terms of carries per year. He's a workhorse. He's a running back that every carry he gets a little bit better. Every carry he's wearing the defensive team down, wearing the defense down. And for Houston, that came in handy and clutch for the Houston Texans in 2024. But this is a new offense, a new personnel, right? New expectation. And for the Houston Texans, they're going to approach blocking for the run differently. So the complication of zone scheme will be out of the window. This is why a lot of us was probably excited for any chance Dameon Pierce had to make this roster, but he's not out there. This is a great time and opportunity for Nick Chubb to go through his own personal ramp-up period. He even mentioned, like, even if he's not getting the carry that he wants during the play, what he's doing after the play, getting a 10-yard burst, just running to get himself physically back in playing shape, which is great. You want to hear that. But for the rookie, Woody Marks and Jawhar Jordan, sophomore running back, it is their time. It's their time, and this ain't nothing to do with speculation. I haven't talked to anybody. I'm just looking at the football aspect of if I'm coming in here for the last few months, and every time we mention Joe Mixon, one out of every other time I mention that, hey, they got to find a way to limit the carries this year, especially for the first 5 to 8 weeks. They got to find a way to limit those carries. They got to find a way to have Joe Mixon as fresh as possible without being as dinged up, nicked up before the playoffs. They got to find a way for him to be the guy that they need to close out the season when it really gets tough. Now, granted, Houston opened up against the Rams, and then they double back against the Buccaneers. The Texans are going to look to control the clock. They're going to want to run the ball effectively and efficiently. But this is a great time for them to figure out what they have in those two young running backs. This is a great time to figure out, when you look at the running back room, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Dameon Pierce, Ogunbowale, Dare, right? Woody Marks, Jawhar Jordan, British Brooks, and I'm specifically looking at Jawhar Jordan and Woody Marks because those are, in my opinion, the running back. They gave British Brooks a nod last year for fullback, and I think that's where he's going to compete this year. Jawhar Jordan in preseason last year did not have a good preseason. 21 carries, 55 yards, 5 receptions, 49 carries, and 4 appearances. He also was used as a kickoff returner in the Hall of Fame game. Is it different? He looks a little bit different this year. He looks like a more NFL running back this year. He looks like a player that when we get to preseason 1, the back half of that game, preseason 2, and even preseason 3, where we won't see the starters a lot, maybe not at all, which I think they should play at least 3 drives. Jawhar Jordan should be getting those carries. Woody Marks should be getting those carries because essentially for the Houston Texans, this is the perfect time for them to figure out for the future, is Woody Marks the answer? For the future, can Jawhar Jordan be a player? I'm not looking for him to be a starter. I'm looking for him just to be a player, just to be a contributor. And without Joe Mixon and without Dameon Pierce, these guys are in a perfect situation to seize the moment, seize the opportunity for them to get out on that field, impress their coaches, impress their quarterback, impress their offensive coordinator, impress DeMeco Ryans, and ultimately impress Nick Caserio. He's out there. He's very visual. He sees what's going on. He knows what's going on. And I like that coming into this camp, because of the absences of some important bodies, the opportunities are there. Like, this isn't one of those camps where they have to work for the opportunity and just flat out have flash after flash after flash. No, let's look at the situation. Let's look at the circumstances. No DP, no Joe Mixon. Okay. Also, new offensive coordinator who has, for Jawhar Jordan, he wasn't here with you last year. So he's going to get his own evaluation of you. So what are you doing? The door is open. And what Nick Caley is doing, guys, from what I'm seeing, between the running back group, between the tight end group, those guys rotated in and out. They're getting opportunities. Those young guys, those guys that are coming back from injuries, those guys that maybe had a quote-unquote disappointing year or just was not out there or wasn't ready, the opportunities are coming. That's the best part about their entire situation. The opportunities are there. For Woody Marks, you're showing your value. You're showing your value. You're already showing what you can do out of the backfield. For Jawhar Jordan, for you to get that nod from DeMeco Ryans, to me that screams, I see you, boy. I see you, boy. I see you, player. Keep doing what you're doing. The preseason games are going to matter. Specifically the Detroit practice game, joint practice, that will matter. Finding a way to get on the field, stay on the field, and be impactful on the field is the goal for both Woody Marks and Jawhar Jordan. And over the course of the next few weeks, we'll see whether they can create separation between each other or between a British Brooks or between the veteran Dario Ogunbowale. They're going to have to do things that catching out of the backfield, blocking and picking up blitzes and assignments, and also being versatile. How can they use you in the offense? How can they use you on special teams? Being available, being valuable is what's going to get this team over the hump. In terms of the running back group specifically, they're going to have to be valuable in other ways and being available out on the field. They're already knocking at the door because they're on the field. Let's see how they continue to take the opportunity and make the most of it. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Please subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. We got more Texan talk throughout the week. Stay locked in on the Locked On Texans podcast.